everybody. Welcome back to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
This is episode number 210. Aaron, we have gone through a hellish season thus far, and we're finally here. The end of the road, the final episode of the regular season. Of course, there's no postseason for us, so I guess you could just say the final
There's
episode.
not?
But have you not been paying attention?
No, I haven't.
For those of you who haven't been paying attention, the Sharks are a league worst 32nd overall in the entire league, which is good for us actually because we're hoping not to make playoffs. We were hoping not to be any sort of good. We were hoping to have the best odds of drafting Macklin Celebrini, the savior of the franchise, Aaron, and it seems like we do have the best odds after all. A successful season as far as I'm concerned.
Did you think we'd be that bad though? Historically bad. Do you know what the goal differential was?
We are going to jump into how much I thought that this was going to be a historically bad season. And all of you owe me an apology, and we'll get there in a second. Trust me. But yes, I did know, and I did think, at least, that this was going to be a very, very bad season for the San Jose Sharks.
10th worst in NHL history for goal differential at negative 150.
Fantastic.
Top 10, baby.
Amazing.
When you're bad, you are bad. Why not? Why not set records of how bad you can be?
It's a valid question, and one we hope to explore as the episode goes on here. But first, of course, right down below, thank you to producer Jason, reminding everybody to like, comment, subscribe, all those fun things. And of course, in the comments, being in the live show, because that's where it's the most fun, of course. When we get to hear from you guys live, your reactions, getting us to answer questions and that kind of thing. If you'd like to make sure that your question gets answered, you could do that with the Super Chat function or Venmo at the Fin Factor. Either way, help support the show, get your question out there, get it answered. Great way to do that. Also, you can support the show at thefinfactor.com, where you can get all kinds of cool things: hats, shirts, sweatshirts, custom sandwich baggies. We have lots of stuff that's in there. Some of it, like the toaster, not actually in there. You have to go there, figure out what's in there, and go ahead and check it out. So thank you so much for your support. Aaron, there was a comment I wanted to call out right away, actually.
Sure.
Okay, it was the first guy here. It was something Daddy. Rab
Daddy.
Rab Daddy. Can we put Rab Daddy comment on the screen there? It says, poopity, poopity, and more poopity. The team needs to be sold, Greer out, and Boyle in as GM. There's a couple layers here. First of all, yes, poopity, of course. But the team needs to be sold. At least we could say this. The Sharks will have a team in San Jose next season. Can't say that for every other franchise. Just saying.
Yikes.
Never mind.
Too soon?
Just firing shots right off the hop here, bud. Okay. Obviously, I'm talking about the Arizona Coyotes. The Phoenix Coyotes, once the Winnipeg Jets
Correct.
Are now moving to Utah to become the Utah
something
Yetis. Who
Still
knows?
Don't know yet.
Don't know. No clue.
Not
whatsoever.
gonna work here anymore.
Yeah. So, anyways, there's that. At least we'll still have a team, and I'm confident in that. So.
Don't jinx it. Man, please don't jinx it.
Got some people in the chat here. Keith says, greetings, Paul, Aaron, super producer Jason. Great friends on the Fin Factor. Hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. I'm going to point out that he puts great friends on the Fin Factor. Again, the people in the chat, it's a great atmosphere. You know, even if you're not a Sharks fan, we've had people from other fandoms come over, and it's been a lot of fun for them. Very friendly guys, so appreciate that. Noah Gregor got 20 goals. Peter St. John, are you pulling my leg? Did he get 20 goals?
Maybe.
Did he actually get 20 goals?
In his career.
Okay, man. In his career. There you go. Zach Croft, of course. How are you doing, Zach? Hello, Sharks family. Hello to you, Zach. It's good to see you, bud. And I know we saw Debbie in there, too, the baker herself.
I think Noah got to 6 goals.
Oh, only 6. That's
Let's take
so
a
strange.
look. 6.
It's almost as if...
Oh, no, I was wrong. It's 32 in his career, not 20.
Greg, so does that mean we win the draft lottery? No, we win the best draft odds for the number 1 overall pick. And happy last show of the year by whoever that was. Peter St. John says, hey guys, with some laughter. Aaron, where do you want to start the show off here? Do we bother going through the last game here that we had against Calgary?
Just a couple notes real quick on that game.
Ever so briefly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it took until 8 seconds left in the game for the Sharks to get a goal to end their season. However, Zetterlund got his 24th goal of the season.
Good.
And Granlund got the assist,
Yes.
which got him to 60 points.
And once again, the Sharks player who I said is not going to hit that milestone decides to hit the milestone, not even just in the last game, as is tradition, but in the last 8 seconds of the game.
9 seconds.
9
Yes,
seconds
yes,
of the game. I stand corrected as
9
well.
seconds.
So-
William Eklund ends with 45 points.
Yeah, that was good.
Zetterlund got 44 points
44.
right behind, but he had 24 goals. He led the team with 24 goals.
Good, yeah.
And Granlund got to 60 points, so that was the high point, I guess, if you will, of the season. And on top of that, I didn't put this in the notes, but
Okay.
Cooley got pulled from that game, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Romanov came in and shut them out in that whole. Let's say half a game.
Okay.
He didn't come in just for the period. He came in for a period and a half.
For his tenure in that game.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, way too early to say. Not too small of a sample size, but at least that bodes well for him. Granted, they were up 5-0, so they probably took their foot off the gas and tried not to get hurt going into the postseason. But yeah, actually, they were in the postseason. Calgary didn't make it. But
I was gonna say I don't think Calgary made it.
no, so kind of just okay. Let's just end this.
Yeah.
Like play out the last period and give the fans a happy, send off of 5-0, which ended up being 5-1.
Did it happen to be an even minus 150 at the end of the season?
Yes,
It
exactly
was?
150.
So I wonder if that was on their mind. 151 is just weird. Let's try to score that one goal.
I'm sure Calgary was very cognizant of how many
Just
goal
bullying
differential
just
the
goes-
Sharks had. It actually was 151.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Wolf got beat by Zetterlund at the end there.
What a cool story,
Which-
by the way.
It was Wolf versus Cooley.
Yeah, exactly.
So two guys from not
Gilroy.
even the Bay Area, the South Bay Area.
Yeah.
So Gilroy and Los Gatos against each other in the last game of the season. That's pretty cool.
And that was it was a historic moment because it never happened before where two goalies from California had played against each other in an AHL game.
Yep.
So pretty cool stuff. I mean, not like groundbreaking, obviously, but it's just cool
Baby
to
steps.
see.
Baby steps,
But
right?
I guess my point is, hockey in California is alive and well. It's a little bit more prominent and it thrives better in SoCal between all the teams that they have down there. But I think obviously here you've got two guys from NorCal, right? Gilroy and Los Gatos, and they're in the show and they're both goaltenders playing against each other. So I think it's just an awesome thing to see guys from the somewhat local area being in that spotlight there. So pretty cool stuff. Anyway, the Sharks end up losing this game by a score of 5-1. Yes, Zetterlund hits 24 goals. Awesome. Eklund gets his 45 points, which I don't think I bet against Eklund. I was betting against Zetterlund. I was betting against Granlund.
Yeah, I think so.
So I hit on Zetterlund, but I missed on Granlund by 9 seconds.
Yes.
But
But you got Eklund too. Because
I got
45 points.
Good for him.
That's a pretty good, I guess, second season technically for him. It's kind of weak. I would say that's really his first season. His first full season.
Sure. Yeah.
First full season.
I'm with you on that one. So,
yeah.
Okay.
It's too bad he doesn't qualify as a rookie because I would still think he's a rookie. Technically speaking, he's not because he played too many games in the last 2 years. In fact, I think he played 8 games last year and 9 games the year before that. And I think if you play less than I don't know what it was, 8 per season, then you're still a rookie. He missed it by 1 game or by 2 games, 3 games. I don't know, whatever. Very, very minimal. But 45 points in 80 games, that's a hell of a start for his career.
Not bad at all, considering there's not much for him to play with. Right? I mean, he was on the best line. He was part of the best line, obviously. But certainly, there's more chemistry that could have been pulled together there. A better team, a better blue line to help feed them. Right? Just because you're good at forwards doesn't mean that you just automatically get the puck and you get scoring chances.
Well, they're a good second line. On a good team.
On a good team, yes.
If they had a good top line ahead of them and they're playing against second line defensive teams too, they would have been even maybe a little bit better than they were because they're playing the team's best defensive forwards and defensive. Like they're just playing the best of the best.
Yeah.
So again, just goes to show how good of a season that was when that was the Sharks' essential the top line, and that they're producing against the top lines of other teams. But yeah, on a good team, that's a good second line.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this game marks the end of the season. So what we were going to do is kind of go back in time, right? So we're going to go back and take a look at some of the predictions that we had. We got a lot of clips in this show, by the way, just prepping you guys for that. There's some that we're going to be going and looking back. There's some of the interviews and things that we're going to be looking at as well. So, so episode 183 was the beginning of this season for this show. So we went back at episode 183 and we started talking about some of the predictions we had. I kind of already alluded to a couple of them.
Right.
But why don't you go ahead and kick off, because I know we have some clips. And I think you wanted to say what the clip.
No, just here, okay. So the beginning, the Athletic came out with points prediction. They create this model and all the players in it and project out what team is going to do well with kind of a percentage-wise look. So like the average was 68.6 points for the Sharks. And then it kind of gives you percentage of above that or below that.
Yeah.
And so we'll take it from there. So here's what I said about it. I kind of explained a little bit and then talk about it. So here we go. This is the projection that they have for the Sharks. Here we go. Is that they're going to get 68.6 points, which is dead last. A lot of people outside of Sharks are writing off the fact that, with Karlsson gone, this team is going to sink. I don't think that's the case. Now, granted, we have Mackenzie Blackwood has not looked great during the preseason. To me, Kähkönen has looked very much like Kähkönen. He has a game that's fantastic, and then he has some other ones that are not so fantastic. There's potential there still, but I'm not saying. I think it's going to be the over of 68 point whatever it was, 6 points. I think
okay.
And not by much, probably 75. That didn't age so well. Now, granted, I didn't know Couture was going to be missing, I would say, the entire season, minus the 6 games that he played. They never had their 4 centers healthy at once and playing. Yeah, I get it. But when Couture came back and Hertl was in the lineup and Sturm came back at the same time that Couture came back, they put a 4-1-1 record together when Couture wasn't. Just Couture himself was in the lineup, right? Now they're not going to be at that pace all season.
Are you sure?
No, they wouldn't be.
They wouldn't have been a playoff team if they just
had Couture. No. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but I am saying I think they would have been close to that 68-point line. I don't think, and Greer talks about it. We'll get into that later. He didn't build this team to be as bad as they are. Those injuries just decimated them. And then on top of that, like, we knew players were going to go. Yeah, thanks, Breakar. I laughed when Aaron said you get more than 68 points, LOL, and the projections.
I'm going to stick up for Aaron for real quick here. All but one of you agreed with him. All but one of you agreed with him. You all said 68 points, 69 points, haha, 75 points, 80 points max. I'm telling you. Hey, go back and take a look. Episode 183. There was one person, I think it was Noah. Maybe it was Noah Claxton. One person agreed with me and said they're going to be under 68.
I'm saying I was wrong. Obviously.
No.
I'm not.
But I'm sticking up for you here because they're laughing at you, saying, haha, 68 points. Y'all were with them.
You look at that lineup. You have Hertl as your number 1 center. Couture's your number 2 center. And Granlund's your number 3 center. And look at the season that Granlund had. If that's your number 3 center, your team is not that bad. Sure. Now, the defense was atrocious. And Matt Benning being out as well, which I didn't foresee coming. Not that he's the savior of the team, which I know you think.
You watch your mouth.
But he is, and Greer even said he's a solid force. And he's also one of the guys that Greer signed for the longest out of anyone else.
4 years, I think?
4-year contract. So he will be back and hopefully healthy to start the season. But you take some of those guys out. And again, I even said this, and I didn't put it in the clip, but this team is not built for depth. If there's an injury to any key players, just like last season, they're done. They're done. So anyway, let's take a look at Nostradamus Paul here and what he had said at the beginning of.
Did you make fun of my nose? Is that what you just said?
This season. Here's Paul's predictions.
I think all of you guys are wrong. Way off. I think we're not even close. Honestly, we're not even close. Here's why. I'm going to pull up the standings from last season, okay? Sharks were 4th worst, and they had, drumroll please, 60 points, okay? 60 points, 4th worst. If we're going to be the worst in the NHL, Anaheim last season had 58. They didn't even hit 60. So if we're trying to be last, and if everybody's saying we're going to be last, I don't know how we have 68. 68 points puts us with Montreal at 28th in the league, 5th worst overall, which is better than we did last season, and there would have been 4 teams underneath that.
Oh. I'm telling you guys, sometimes it just clicks up here. Most times it doesn't, but sometimes, every once in a while, I get something bang on right, and that was it. Yeah, not even close.
Paul's gonna need a new hat because his head just got so
it's
much
adjustable. Bigger. It's adjustable. And actually, you can go to thefinfactor.com and pick up the same hat. It is adjustable for your gigantic head. But what? I'm just trying to plug stuff. Wait, to stop hating. Yeah, so that was one of those ones that was absolutely spot on. And not even just the fact that we were going to be drastically lower than 68 points, because you have to take injuries into account during a season. You can't just say, this is our roster, we're going to have all these guys all the time, right? You kind of have to account for those things. I kind of figured we're going to be in the basement there. And the best part of looking at that is take a look at the teams that were below that line from last year. Mm-hmm. Take a look at the teams that are below that line from this year. And take a look at how many teams were below that line in both years. Because it's in both years, it's 4 teams that are below the 68-point line, mm-hmm. right? And it's the same 4 teams. And the 5th team, Montreal, got a little bit better, mm-hmm. but then they were still the 5th worst team. So,
I was going to say, last year, Montreal was at 68, and then it went Sharks at 60, Chicago 59, Columbus 59, Anaheim 58. All very close, within 2 points, those last 4.
All trash.
All trash. This year, Montreal did improve to 76 points. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a big leap. Blue Jackets 66, which is close to the 68 line. Anaheim 59, Chicago 52, Sharks 47.
Yeah.
That's an 11-point difference from last place of last year to last place this year.
It's a big swing.
It's huge. It's ridiculous. Also, I'm curious what the negative goal differential. Anaheim was in last place last year, 129.
Yeah.
The
Not
Sharks,
as bad as us, though, bud.
You take those two double-digit games in the beginning of the season, that's the difference right there.
Yeah.
2 blowouts. Major blowouts.
But it was just funny because it was not only just that it was 4 teams specifically under that 68-point line, which is part of the big reason I was saying there's no way we're hitting 68 points. You've got 4 teams underneath that.
I just thought the Sharks weren't going to be in dead last.
You didn't?
Regardless of points-wise, I didn't think they were going to be that bad. I didn't think 68 points was going to be the bottom. I thought they were going to be kind of above the bottom around 68 points. Sorry, I don't think I communicated that well enough.
Yeah.
But
no. There's historical evidence that says otherwise, and it's called episode 183.
No, I wasn't expecting them to be in last place. I wanted them to be in last place, but I wasn't expecting them to be.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm very happy that I was right again. So you guys owe me an apology. Roll call. Put your best apology.
Oh, God. No roll call. Don't answer that. It doesn't count.
Okay, anyway, so what's the next thing we're going to talk about here? There's another clip you got.
Well, another clip of both Paul and I kind of explaining how to watch the team this season, because we knew they were going to be bad. We didn't think they were going to be historically bad, but we knew they were going to be bad. So this was our, tips on how to watch the season.
Yeah. Aaron, how can Sharks fans and people that are maybe getting into watching professional hockey, what's a good way for them to watch this? What mindset do they need to be in to watch these games? Because obviously it's not going to be very pretty. So what are they looking out for?
Well, for one, like I'm talking about actually going to the game, not so much watching on TV, but going to the game. It is entertainment. The Sharks are going to be a very entertaining thing to go to. Let me get back to that, but watching the young guys, they are creating a new core of this team. They're very young right now, but you're going to start seeing Eklund is going to be playing, I think, majority of the season, if not all of it. Hopefully he can stay healthy and doesn't get hurt, because that he's kind of gotten, a little durability issues with that. He already had surgery at 20 years old.
At least I got some things right?
Yeah.
Eklund did play 80 games.
Absolutely.
He missed 2. Okay, that's not bad. I'll take 80 games from anybody. That's awesome. So yeah, and same thing. Watch those guys grow. And Eklund again is an example of, here's a guy who at the beginning of the season is not looking like the same guy who was playing at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You can even almost like break it into thirds and see the progression of how well he has transitioned from a guy that was kind of struggling to make the top 6 There was times where he was dropped down and demoted, even semi-recently too, where he got demoted to that fourth line because he just wasn't quite doing what he should be doing, and then bounces right back in the top six.
Yeah.
But that beginning, he was having a harder time. I'd say the same with Zetterlund. We got to see him grow. I mean, he led the team in scoring goals. Did not see that coming at all. I mean, I had a small sample size of last season where he had 0 goals in the 20 games he played with the Sharks. But then to get 24 in whatever many games. Oh, he's the only one that played all 82 games.
Yeah.
So great to see those two guys kind of flourish. I would say Henry Thrun is another one that I wouldn't say it wasn't. That's not the best we've seen him,
Sure.
or will see him.
Yeah.
But we've seen his growth, and there's some other players that talk about the same thing. I didn't get any clips of them, but talked about Thrun and how great. Mark Edward Vlasic actually talked about how he's seen him improve, and was how basically what he was talking about is when he went back, got demoted to the AHL and came back, how his confidence had grown and he was a much better player and all that. So that's what I said. Now let's take a look at what you had to say for how to watch the Sharks this season, or what to look for.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, get in now. The tickets are going to be cheap. Yes, Kellen, they're doing the most giveaways because they got to get people in the arena somehow, 100%. I mean, they know what they're doing. It's a business, right? So, but yes, it'll still be fun to watch. Hockey's hockey. Even if your team's getting beat, that kind of sucks. You could still watch, a lot of good talent coming into the arena. And yes, Ben, the Fin Factor's optimism rubs in on the viewers as shown in point prediction. Yeah, because all you guys thought they were going to get way more points than I did. So yeah, I mean, there you go. See, this is one of those times where I'm optimistic but I'm also realistic. I just don't see it. But hey, you guys do awesome. And again, I'm looking forward very much to revisiting that topic.
So yeah, just kind of almost kind of the same vein, really. Just seeing the same the guys, the growth and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I had mentioned getting in now, tickets going to be cheap and everything, right? So they had the most giveaways this season, right?
Hey, give credit to the Sharks. They knew they were going to be bad. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the Sharks
organization, yeah, office.
It worked.
Yeah.
There were sellout games this season, and it wasn't because of the opponent either. There were sellouts because of the giveaways being on a Saturday night. They still put together a decent amount of attendance, I would think, for a team that came in so far last place with the most goals against or goal differential kind of. I think they did a fantastic job. Now, obviously, it's not the same arena that we've seen a decade ago when they were dominating, but for being as bad as they were, and I would say even the last 3 seasons, I think that was probably one of the better attendance-wise. So I think a job well done by the marketing department for doing the giveaways and doing cool giveaways. They're not just the same old jerseys and stuff that we've seen or bobbleheads or anything else. They got kind of creative and thinking outside the box and getting new stuff, which I think we do have some, like here. Look,
the
bucket hat.
There you go.
The reversible bucket hat.
One positive to cheap tickets. Is that what somebody said? Yeah. Somebody put on the screen there as well. So again, for me, it was never about watching this because we're expecting some dynamic wins and whatnot. It was more about watching the growth of the young players, which again I think kind of reiterating what you already said. We did get to see a lot of that this season with Zetterlund and with Eklund and with Thrun, Grand Admiral Thrun. Right? There's lots of great young talent that's kind of coming up and starting to set that new core of what it's going to be. Now, maybe Thrun isn't going to be the top 2 defensemen that the Sharks need. No. Totally not going to be the case. But he's still going to be a part of that core, right? The young group of players that start to get to those years where they can become a UFA, right? So we're starting to see that now. And I think we were maybe a little bit low on Bordeleau to start the season. And he kind of jumped in and more towards like the trade deadline and showed that he had some to give at the NHL level as well.
He's completely improved his game from the first time, the beginning of this season, and even into last season. He was more of a one-dimensional offensive player, and he really rounded out his game and was doing more conservative kind of hockey rather than kind of forcing the play and getting bad turnovers and having it end up in the back of your net, which also in turn, and not surprisingly, helped him stay in the lineup and play more minutes because the coach is trusting him to not do boneheaded moves. So it goes hand in hand. He's still getting some points. It's not like he was going completely dry, but I think it was good growth on him. And for him, he's exactly the kind of player that we've talked about before, who growing up at every aspect or every level of hockey, he's been the best player on his team. Then he gets to the NHL and kind of hits a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I'm not in the top 6.
Yep.
I don't know how to play in the bottom 6. Got sent back down to the AHL and figured out how to play a 200-foot game. Changes his game, and now he's going to be that kind of player that'll probably be a third-line guy, but who can score.
Yeah.
And what good teams need are good third-line scoring, which he could be in maybe a second power play time.
And that story sounds very familiar because I've heard the same thing, and I cannot remember the player's name. There was an article on him. He reinvented his game for the same reasons, where he was kind of that goal scorer, and he kind of had to relearn how to just play defensively, do something other than what I've always known to do.
Not
right?
Barclay Goodrow.
It was not. It was not. It was a player from this Studnicka.
Studnicka.
Jack
Studnicka?
saying that wrong. I think it's Jack Campbell.
Oh, Jack Campbell.
Anyway, yeah. So Studnicka was that guy, right? And so as it seems like there's a lot of that going around now, right? Where you played a certain way for your entire career, it got you to where you wanted to be, but then when you got there, you realized, oh God, I can't be one dimensional. I have to be able to do everything else and do more, right? So good on him for, again, getting, when he's down in the AHL, he's working on that 200-foot game, and he comes up and he's able to contribute, not just offensively, but on the defensive side of the puck as well. So, again, I was high on Bordeleau, I was low on Bordeleau, and now I'm kind of pulling myself back to, hey, maybe he does have what it takes, as I was afraid he was going to be a tweener.
Yeah, same.
So hopefully he, has a little bit more to give.
I like his game.
level.
I like what he does now. He's much more well-rounded player who's not. I hate the guys that come up that are one-dimensional, and they're getting 11 minutes a game, 12 minutes a game. Like, what? Come on. You need to do a little bit more than that. Now he's getting 14, 15 minutes a game.
Yeah.
That's a more middle six winger type game, and that's perfectly fine. And his face-offs, because I think they played him at center for a couple games too.
I think so, yeah.
If he could be maybe not a full-time center, but I loved when the Sharks were good a decade ago. They had Pavelski and Thornton, and then Couture and Marleau, like they would switch off in the face-off circle. So if you get kicked out, you still have a quote-unquote centerman able to take the face-off and win it. So much better chances. I like having that. I like having that option of a winger who knows how to play center, especially if there's an injury they could fill in on the fly in a game or something.
Or centerman gets a penalty and you're trusted to 200 feet, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So, again, good on Bordeleau. There's a lot of guys that I think we can talk about. We're probably going to bring up some of these names a little bit later on. Yeah. But, again, for us, the reason to watch, the growth, maybe didn't hit on it being exciting thing to watch. I was going to say a thing. But
I don't know what the word to use there.
At times it was, more often than not, it was frustrating. We get it. But, again, if you're looking at it the way that we were looking at it, certainly not a horrible season for the young guys coming up and learning.
The fans wanting the team to drive the tank all season were very happy. Very, very happy.
And I was definitely one of them.
As was I.
And then we'll talk a little bit about maybe the assessment of the team now, because I think that's a perfect segue here.
Yeah.
Greer had they did the whole interview with all the team, the exit interview thing.
Yes.
So the media was talking with Mike Greer, and there's a lot of things that he was addressing. I'm not sure how much of what we're going to be talking about exactly, but I know you've got some clips here that are set up and ready to go, so why don't you go ahead and kick off the first clip here.
Right. Well, first of all, Mike Greer spent about 42 minutes talking with the media, so I pulled a lot of clips from it because
That's
we
like
don't.
half of one of our shows.
Yeah, we don't. I didn't, obviously, it's not the whole thing. I'm not putting 42 minutes of Mike Greer talking here. We don't get to talk to him nearly as much as we do with the coaches or the players during the season, so it's nice to get insights from him and see what his thinking is. So I pull 5 clips, I believe, from Mike Greer alone. So we're going to go through these not too quickly and not too slowly, just about right.
Just right.
So this first one is a simple question. Hey, Mike Greer, how do you think the season went? So here's his reaction to the question of how he assessed the season, if you will.
I mean, I think, as I told the group, I don't think the season was good enough. It was probably a little bit, not just post deadline, but overall, it was, not what I expected. Or I'm sure what they expect in the room for various different reasons. So I give the group credit. I told them they came in here and they were positive They got along. They kind of, and the coaches deserve credit for that too, kind of keeping the guys on track and staying positive and motivating them. You've seen situations in not just hockey, but all sports where teams in this situation where it kind of goes off the rails and things get bad and you hear guys bickering and not getting along. But the guys came here and worked every day.
It's what I expected. Come on, man. How could you have not known? How could you have not known?
The injuries just really took its toll, I think. And again, I'm not saying they're a playoff team. No. Not even close.
No.
I was expecting about a 10th overall pick, not a first overall pick. I'm very happy with, well, not that they have the first overall pick, but the odds of getting the first overall pick. I'm fine with it. And again, I would rather them be garbage than to be 10th to 15th. I think that's worse. Now, again, that's going to help. Now, assuming they get Celebrini and they get the first overall pick.
Oh, God.
Now I wouldn't mind being 10th to 15th.
Okay.
Because at least they got that really high-end blue chip prospect. And not even a prospect at that point. He's probably going to play right away.
I'm sure he will.
So now you're getting kind of the cornerstone of the foundation of the core group. And then you're just going to add pieces on top of that.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to just tank, I'm very happy about it. Very happy.
Craig here saying, being honest, is probably also what Greer expected. I seriously doubt he'd tell the media he was expecting it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, I mean, obviously they knew that they were going to be bad, and we'll hear from Nico Sturm, right, saying something similar later on. But you knew they were going to be bad. Maybe he didn't know that they were going to be like absolute dead last, can't even get to 20 wins, right? Goal differential in the historic category. Right? Maybe he didn't realize or think that they were going to be that bad. But, again, if you take a look at the types of players he was bringing in, he was bringing in guys that aren't exactly high-skill win-now guys. They were guys that were blue-collar, they work hard, and you can probably flip them at the deadline. I think that was one of the things he was definitely looking at when he was bringing some of these guys in, was that, I can have them on this team, working hard, setting the right culture for the younger guys. But then when the time comes, if I need to flip them, absolutely, they're the type of player that a team would want to add to their fourth line, to their third line checking, third line scoring, whatever.
Kind of what Arizona has been doing for a couple years.
Yeah.
Taking all the bad contracts, if you will, or the players that didn't have anyone to sign, signing them for 1-year deals and then flipping them at the deadline just to get some assets back. It's not a bad model. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm kind of happy they do that because they're in the position that they are. They're rebuilding. Now, I think this offseason is going to be very different. Now, I didn't pull too many quotes about this from him specifically, but just listening to that whole 42 minutes, I mean, it was a long day. He kind of alluded to the fact that he could have done more for the team this year. Like, he could have brought in some other players, and he was hesitant to and didn't. And I think now that Hurdle's gone, that $8 million contract frees up a lot of space. There's some other stuff coming off the books. There's a lot of stuff coming off the books. It sounded like he was going to be going out and getting some more free agents than he did this last offseason. And not so much big name guys. He's not going to be, and the other thing he mentioned, I have this in the notes, but I didn't take the quote. He's not giving anyone an 8-year deal.
Right.
It's going to be 3 to 4 years at most. Maybe we'll see some 1 to 2 and then some 3 to 4 year contracts getting out for free agents this year. Same with the guys that are on the team, like any extensions. Now, Cunnin is one that a lot of people were asking about because he's an RFA. And it sounds like he's going to be sticking around from what he is saying. But
he likes Cunnin a lot.
Yes, he is one of Greer's guys, and coming off of was an ACL injury, I think, in the off season. He wasn't up to speed right away to start the season. I think he kind of got his legs under him after a while, but I think he had a decent season, and that's one of the guys that's going to be coming back. A lot of people asked. I'm going to get to this a little bit, but this was kind of the demo phase is done. So he's not tearing down as much now.
Demo as demolition, not demo like...
Sorry, demolition as in
blowing
deconstructing the team, right? He slowly got rid of the pieces, and now he's going to be adding pieces. He's not going to be taking away pieces. Now, a lot of people were asking, and the Vlasic interview was. I don't have any clips of Vlasic, but it's really hard to get any Vlasic clips because his answers are so short.
Yeah.
And just he looks like he's so annoyed and so pissed off. I don't think Vlasic likes Shang because Shang writes about him a lot in his contract, and just the interaction between those two is you can cut the atmosphere in the room. Like, it is so tense between the two of them. It's so bad.
Well, Shang, if we knew the answer to that one.
Yeah, just like it's brutal. It is brutal. And Vlasic comes across as kind of pompous and whatever,
Yeah.
but he is brutally honest. Like kind of like how Sturm is, and a lot of people just don't like the brashness, I guess, of his answers.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? They asked him flat out. I think it wasn't Shang. It was Curtis. Asked him, Curtis from the Mercury News.
Pashalka.
Asked if he had talked to Greer or anyone about a buyout, because he's got 2 more years left, right? And he just goes, no, I've never talked to anyone about a buyout, and I fully honor my contract. I will be here. I expected. Then they just like, there's so many ways to ask a question to get the quote that they want, and you just won't give it. And another couple ones were like, did you ask like kind of how Burns asked, or how like Hurdle asked, or people wanted like, oh, this is the end of my career. I want to go to a winning team. Have you had that conversation? And he's like, no. I don't know. There's just, that one was fun to watch, but I couldn't put any of it in the show today. But anyway, the last thing I'll say is Hasso, the owner, is willing to spend up to the cap, but he specifically said we are not a cap team right now.
Right.
I don't think he has any problem, and the Sharks are very, very, very lucky to have Hasselplattner, because he will spend to the cap. He has no problem spending the cap. There are a lot of teams that will not spend to the cap.
Ottawa.
They don't have the cash.
We've always talked about Ottawa being that guy.
Well,
right?
they sold and he's gone, and he actually died. But there's a new owner now.
Thanks for man.
You're welcome.
Now I feel bad.
Yep.
Not
So
really.
new ownership there, but there are a lot of teams that won't spend to the cap, and their team suffers for it.
I was
But the
just
Sharks,
trying to give an example. I didn't mean like right now. I'm just saying.
the Sharks are not that kind of team. So when they are ready to spend at the cap, they will.
Okay.
They will be able to. The money will never be a problem as long as Hasselplattner is owning the team. If he's ever sold the team, that could change. Who knows? Which I know the very first comment in here was they should sell the team. I don't agree with that at all. At all. All right. So,
but it's good to see that he is willing to spend to the cap, and we'll have a lot of cap space available. But again, we aren't a cap team right now, right? He is only going to give out these 1, 2, maybe 3-year contracts to these UFAs, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because as the younger guys are starting to get older and they get past that entry level contract and they're looking for their actual contract to get paid, you're going to be able to pay them, because you're not tied down with a 7-year contract for $7 million or whatever it is.
Exactly what he said in the interview.
Oh.
Greer himself saying,
There you
signing these guys to 8-year deals, and then these other young guys that are coming up, and it's due for them to get paid. We won't be stuck in that situation, hello Toronto, where we can't pay our young guys that are up and coming because we're already locked into too many long-term deals. So, so another big question that they asked, and we have a clip here, is about Will Smith. Yes. Now, is Will Smith going to sign, or is he going to go back to college? Because one of his line mates so far has announced that he's going back for a second year. Was it Leonard? Or was it?
I think it was Leonard had announced that.
Yeah. So Leonard, and I'm forgetting who's the other guy on this line.
Cutter's going to the NHL.
He already signed.
Yeah.
He signed last week.
Yeah. Perot?
Maybe it's Perot. Was it? He's one of those lines. Nick's probably screaming right now.
Yeah. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah. He'll tell us in the comments. We'll get into it. But anyway, this was his quote, Greer's quote, sorry, about Will Smith, and then there's a second question in there about, is San Jose still kind of a free agent
destination?
Is it attractive to free agents to come to San Jose or not? So here's his answer.
Spoiler, yes.
Well, I'll start with Will. I've talked to Will. I've talked to his agent, and we've had some discussions. But we'll probably have more in the coming days. But it was good. It was a good discussion with him, and so we'll see. It's a big decision for him, life-wise, and everything. So we'll see where it goes in the next. We'll probably have more for you in the coming days on that. But as far as opportunity goes, I think that's attractive to players. I think for them, we're not promising them anything. Anyone who comes in here, it's we're letting them know that there's an opportunity to establish yourself, but you have to earn it. These guys, I think anyone who comes, you can see the opportunity, but it's up to them what they do with it.
That's big at the end there, what he said. Guys have to earn it. They're not giving anyone anything. And we talked about this last week 2 weeks ago, when Colin Graff chose the Sharks over all these other teams. He said it himself, Colin Graff said it himself, that the Sharks were honest with me and said, you have an opportunity here. We're not promising you anything. And this is what Quinn told him.
Yeah.
If anyone promises top power play at time or whatever, they're lying to you, and you should run the other way, because it's not how it should ever work. You should have to work for it. So, again, yes, there are plenty of opportunities in San Jose to play top line minutes. It's up to you to earn it and get there. Now, did they have the same discussion with Hoffman, maybe? Going into last season when they signed him and some other players that they brought in that didn't pan out? Probably.
I think Hoffman specifically, though, probably liked all the time that he had spent in San Jose the first time they picked him up.
He wanted that banner gone. That's what he wanted.
He took the banner home, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They gave it to him, remember? Yeah. Anyway, sorry. But with Will, I think it was interesting that they said that there was maybe something in the coming days.
Yeah, I think we're going to see an announcement here. I'm leaning more towards he's signing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going back to college. He tied the most points scored.
Yeah.
Why go back?
I think the fact that Greer thinks that Will Smith, he said this, he thinks that Will Smith is ready for the NHL.
Yes,
he
and
said
I did not get the quote in there, but he did say it. Because there was a follow-up question by Curtis. He said, regardless if he signs or not or goes back to college, do you, Mike Greer, think that he's ready for the NHL? And he said, yes, I think his play, everything, his physique, everything is ready for the NHL. I think he could play in this game.
So if he's saying, I think he's ready to play the game, and we've got maybe an announcement that you might be hearing in a few days, I'm hoping, Aaron, that this won't be the last episode that we do related to this season, because I'm hoping we can come back with hey, Will Smith, sign with the San Jose Sharks.
I think
It'll be fun.
I honestly think he's signing this week.
Yeah?
I think
this week?
I think. Well, he said it's coming days. We're going to see it in a couple days. And these interviews were Saturday?
Okay.
I think they were on Saturday. So, yeah, I bet it's this week.
Okay.
I mean, all of his other line mates are signing or saying that they're going back. So,
Right.
I think I think he has absolutely nothing to prove in the NCAA anymore. And he wants to get paid.
I would I would agree with you. I don't think he has anything else to prove. Again, if you're like the top dog in the NCAA, what do you need to go back for, right? If you're talking about your development, there's no sense in being the top dog in a league that's not the top league and staying there. So, that I don't quite understand the logic behind.
I got a quick question
there.
here.
Fire
Sorry.
away.
Jay Manny, what would you think of Patrick Laine as a project player if it was possible?
Didn't you just say you didn't like one-dimensional players?
But it is Laine, and he's young. If he was older, no. Because he's young, he went into the substance abuse program.
Isn't he? I was gonna say, isn't he a problem child?
Not a problem child. I think he had I don't know what it was, drinking or drugs, but he had some kind of problem.
I didn't even mean that. I just meant in general. I thought he was just
No, I think it was just he had a lot of pressure on him, young guy.
Yeah,
I think mentally it was a mental thing.
Okay.
And I think I would absolutely bring him in here, bring him in the fold. I mean, this is a guy who scored in a season, I think 40 goals.
Yeah.
And he's still pretty young.
Yeah.
So maybe he got to 50.
Well, if you're going to bring somebody who's got one-dimensional talent in, and that one dimension is goal scoring, if you put him alongside William Eklund
And Smith,
it's maybe not a bad
that guy
call.
is going to be a power play sniper. That guy will destroy if he gets on that line. If he gets on that top power play
Here's what
line.
I will say. I would, if I were to do that, I would do exactly what Greer is saying he would do, which is not hand out a big contract.
Absolutely. Oh, no. I would say 1 year. Not a big contract at all.
1 to 2 years tops, right? It's kind of like a prove it thing. Are you back? Are you good to go? If so, great. He could be a part of this.
He's Finnish.
Don't go there.
Granlund
Yes, I know. Granlund is finished.
takes
yeah.
him under his wing.
Maybe.
Just throwing it out. He's
How
26 years old.
Thank you. 26.
26.
See, for me, that fits pretty well because you've got a bunch of young guys already. You don't need necessarily the old guys because you can get those guys dime a dozen, right? But that kind of tweener prime, just before my prime player.
Man, this guy scored 36 goals in his first year, rookie year.
See, here we are talking about
Followed up with a
Patrick Laine for no
sophomore
reason.
slump of 44 goals.
For no reason, Aaron. For no
Then
reason.
30, then 28, then 10, then 26 and 22.
Get on with it.
Yeah.
Yes, I would absolutely take
Let's
him.
get on
I'd absolutely take him.
with it.
All right. Real quick, roll call. Roll call.
Okay.
Here's the question.
Okay.
Do you think Will Smith signs?
Ooh.
Or do you think he goes back to the NCAA? Tell us where you're
I
watching
want to hear from the people.
From the people. Tell us what city you're watching from. And if you think Will Smith will sign and play next season for the Sharks. I already saw someone was in here from, I think it was Australia.
Whoa.
Or somewhere else. Yeah. Melbourne, Australia. Deeds. Hey, Deeds. I don't know if you're still here, but I saw it. Anyway, let's go into the next one. This is Mike Greer again. Still on Mike Greer. He was asked about the other prospects outside of Will Smith who he's excited about possibly joining the Sharks
Yes.
next season. So here's his answer, and there's one in here that's a surprise that I wasn't too keen on. So not that I didn't like, I just wasn't on my radar as much. And it sounds like it is on his. So here is Mike Greer and his words on the other prospects outside of Will Smith.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting group, and so we're looking forward to adding more to it this year. And I think Shakir really is someone that I think is really exciting for us to look forward to. He's on the cusp of the NHL. You mentioned Luca; he's had a historic season down there. So anytime you put up numbers like he did, it makes you take notice. And I think our development group, Todd Marchant and Lucas Bees, have done a good job with him. He's defending much better, which, for an offensive guy at his size is going to be paramount. David Edstrom is someone that we're excited about as, an 18, 19-year-old kid. He's been playing second line and on his men's team in Sweden. They just, I think, just got knocked out in 7 games in the second round, but he was playing power play, penalty kill, scored. I think the game winner had maybe 4 points in those 3 games. So for someone his age to be able to make an impact in the men's league is exciting for us. Musty had a really, really good year. He missed some games, but he was almost at a 2-point-a-game clip, which is obviously very good. So we're excited about his ability and see where he's at after hopefully has a good summer of training. So all these guys are, they're people we're excited about, and I'll put Halton in there, who's come over, was willing to make the sacrifice and the jump to play in North America. And, he's had over 30 goals in his first year, and, he's still scoring in the playoffs there. So, so we're excited. But these guys also have a lot of work ahead of them to get up here and impact the Sharks.
Lot of names that he dropped there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of names. And, again, this is one of those things where, we watch this season for the younger guys and their growth and whatnot. Next season and potentially the season after that, because they're again, a lot of rookies. I can't imagine all of them are going to jump in at the exact same time. But
No.
This is what this season, the next season, and the season after that, I think are going to be all about, is watching these guys grow and contribute.
But who else is going to be good on top of the Sharks of these young guys coming in?
Who else?
The Barracuda.
That's true. Yeah,
The Barracuda
absolutely.
is going to see... not all these guys are going to make the Sharks.
Yeah.
And not all of them are going to go back to their teams. They'll be playing for the Barracuda. So we're going to see a lot of these top guys still in San Jose, just not on the Sharks.
Tech
So,
CU will be jumping.
absolutely. Now, we said that's last season, and the Barracuda still ended up very poorly.
We don't need to bring that up.
But there's going to be even more guys coming in that are going to be much more solid top-end tier guys that'll be joining the Barracuda. So that team will be getting better. There were, surprisingly, a lot of questions about the Barracuda. from the media so this whole media day on Saturday wasn't just Greer. Greer was the longest, but they talked to practically all the players and Quinn as well. So we have some more of those quotes coming in later, but a lot of them talked about the AHL and if it was good and why. The question I think is why is the Barracuda so bad if they have so many prospects
Right.
and guys, like what's going on? Is it a good league or not? And we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to add to those young guys coming up?
No, just in general, I think it's something that, again, it's something to watch for. These guys that we talked about already with like Shakir McMadullin, for instance. We've been very high on Quentin Musty. David Edstrom was a guy that we had picked up from the Hurdle trade to Vegas. So Edstrom playing in the SHL, Swedish Hockey League. It's a boy among men, basically, playing, right? He's 18 years old. He's playing against men. So for him to do that, and potentially getting the jump like Haltonen did this season. He came over from with the Finnish League, I think it was, and he came over into the London Knights team, and he's playing for them. And he said, 30 goals in his first season on North American ice?
57 games. He had 32 goals and 29 assists for 61 points.
It's fantastic.
That is a heck of a first season.
It's
on
absolutely
smaller ice.
exactly.
that
That's
he's
the
used to.
thing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic that he's doing that, going from international ice to North American ice. And honestly, we've seen him setting up in the OV office, right?
Yes.
And he just cranks. This guy's got a bullet for a one-timer.
He's a big guy too, right?
Yeah, he's a tall dude.
Yeah.
But to see him having success again on that smaller ice surface bodes well, because a lot of times you see guys, they go from the international ice to the smaller rink, and it totally messes with them because they don't have the time and the space, right? So you would think that shrinking the rink would make it easier to score goals because there's less to skate through, but you have less space to skate through, and it becomes an issue. So great to see him having a great season with the London Knights, and amongst all the other Sharks prospects. Again, this is probably the first year that I can think of where we've had so many Sharks prospects doing so well in their respective leagues.
Absolutely.
Maybe we've had a guy here or there, but
Not this many.
This is, we've got a ton of them. So again, we talk about if the Barracuda is going to be good next season, or whatever the case is. We talked about the Barracuda this season, the past season that's ended, and why they're not good because they we should have been. We've had good prospects.
Yeah.
We haven't had prospects like this. And this season they went through in their minor years and their NC2A, whatever else they were doing, and when they come in, if they don't make the NHL, because a lot of them are going to be able to compete for a spot in the NHL. If they're competing for a spot in the show and they don't make it, they're going to be great in the AHL. So. Again, this is me, hopefully Paul Stradama, saying I think the Barracuda are going to be pretty solid next season if all these guys decide to make the jump.
Real quick, I don't know if you saw, but on San Jose Hockey Now podcast, they had two different guys. Greg Wyshynski, who used to work for Yacht for a long time.
Puck
Now he's on
Daddy or
ESPN.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy who does prospects, and I'm blanking
American
on his name.
Wyshynski?
No, it's a different guy.
Different guy, okay.
But anyway, the other guy is very high on Quentin Musty, even more so than Will Smith.
Okay.
Thinking that Quentin Musty is the best prospect that the Sharks have over Will Smith. Wow. Wyshynski said that Mike Greer should be GM of the year.
Yeah,
in his
I remember.
opinion.
I remember
that was kind of a big thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree.
Look, GM of the year doesn't necessarily go to the team that has the best record, right? Just because your team is great doesn't mean that you've done a good job as a GM. If you've already had great players,
it's
you're
hard.
kind of just sitting back for that year,
Yeah,
right?
that's a hard thing to quantify. How do you quantify GM of the year? Your team's winning?
I don't think
you
that's
put together the best roster you could.
I think you can make an argument for it for Greer. I think the amount of work, right? The body of work that he's had to put together for them to be in the position that they're in. Now that sounds funny because the position that you're in is 32nd in the league, trash, right? But if you think about it, he had to move a lot of big contracts. The Erik Karlsson contract, everybody said was not movable, right? You can't move that contract, and he did. I didn't think it was immovable, but I'm just saying, like,
he only retained $1.5 million.
That's
right.
The thing.
That's
so
not that much.
When you think about what he was able to do, he was able to move that contract, only retaining $1.5 million,
and getting a first round.
He was able to get first. He was also able to get all these prospects. And you take a look at where the prospects are in their respective leagues, and they're killing it in those leagues.
They have 4 picks in the top 50 players.
I mean,
This draft,
for
this
me,
upcoming draft.
that is more impressive than just like for Toronto, for instance, who like won against Boston for the first time.
Oh, did they?
This season? They've never been in the lead against Boston.
In the playoffs,
Not
you mean?
one. No. This season.
Oh.
They hadn't been in the lead once. They lost every single game. They hadn't taken a lead once.
See
They
what
were
happened in
always
game one?
trailing or tied.
Have you watched game 1?
I didn't even bother, but I saw it some of it today because I was with a friend who's a Toronto fan. But regardless, they finally won
were
a
they
game.
crying?
So my question
It's
is,
1-1.
is Toronto's GM considered an awesome GM because he has a great team and just got to be like, cool, right? Or do you look at Greer and go, man, this guy was churning, getting this team to overturn, getting rid of these other players, rid of these contracts, taking these guys on, but also getting these prospects in return because it is a rebuild. Just because your record isn't good doesn't mean your GM hasn't been killing it all year. So that's where I would say, yes, absolutely, he should be considered.
I agree. There needs to be a way to quantify it. I don't know how. You take the prospect pool and like the difference between one year to the next. There's a whole bunch of different ways you
I
can
think
do
you
it.
look at just the body of work, what the GM had to go through to get to where the team is, not by the record that they have, but by where they are in their process. If they're a contending team, or if they weren't quite a contending team, he went through a lot of work, and now that they are, okay, then he's done something positive, right? If your team is already crushing everyone, like you have the best team in the league, like last Boston Bruins, right? If they're like they've been the best team in the league a couple years in a row, I don't think that GM should be GM of the year for the second or third year, maybe the first time around when he got him to that point.
I love when GMs get fired and then like 2 years later, the next guy gets GM of the year. It's like that guy didn't build that team. Come on. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, what else did you want to? There was a question about if this is rock bottom.
That was asked by, I think, to every single player in person. That question is this rock bottom? So yeah, this is Greer's answer to the question: is this rock bottom? Are we expecting another season like this, or is it going to get worse? So here's Greer's answer.
As far as you're concerned, this was rock bottom, right? Like this was for me, you're able to sort of grow. And,
I hope so. I don't. If this isn't, I don't know what is. So yeah, I mean, it was a difficult season, and like I kind of said earlier, it was worse than I expected. I think coming into the season, I didn't think we were a playoff team, but thought we'd be better than we were, and from the start we had to the injuries, everything just kind of snowballed, and so yes, I would hope this is rock bottom and we can kind of progress and take some steps forward next year. Like I said, this was probably worse than expected, but yeah, I think we knew we were coming in. We were going to have to make some tough decisions. We were going to have to kind of move on from some guys and try and free up some cap space and flexibility and kind of turn it over to a younger group of players. So then we can move forward. And I think we've started to do that. And, unfortunately it's, there's some pain when you do that. And this was not an easy season for the players or coaches or the fans to go through. And like I said, I appreciate the fans kind of supporting us and sticking by us. But so hopefully this is, the 2 years that were necessary to push this thing forward.
Going to make some tough decisions. Now that we've already heard a few of the names that will no longer be joining Team Teal. One of which, I shouldn't say one.
There's 3.
No. One of which I'm a little surprised about. One of which I am totally happy to see go. And the other one, I'm also totally happy to see go. So, Aaron, why don't you go over those 3 names? But
Sure.
These are the tough decisions. Unless there's something else tough decision-wise you think he's maybe referring to.
I think he's referring to other stuff.
Other stuff too?
This one he announced, he came out and said, was it Mike Hoffman, Kevin LeBanc, and Barabanov are going to be walking.
And
they're going to go to free agency.
Barabanov was the one that I was a little bit surprised on. I would have liked to seen him, but you've definitely got a good reason as to why you think Barabanov's going free agency.
To me, I think his position in the team is going to, if it wasn't this season, next season is going to be surpassed with the depth chart. So I think there's going to be some young guys that are going to be taking over that spot. Would have been nice to see him stay and compete for it maybe, and push him a little bit and push the other guys. But I understand it. He probably, he's going to need a new contract and is going to go probably just test the free agency market. So the fact that the cap is going up by, I think it was $4 million, he's roughly maybe a $2-3 million winger.
Yeah.
He's going to sign to a team that is probably going to be a little bit more competitive than the Sharks. And he's not going to be in the future plans anyway, so time for him to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. Remember who we traded to get him
I
to
do
Toronto?
not actually.
I believe it was, oh my gosh, who was that third line center or fourth line center that we had from Finland like years ago? He made
Sumela?
Yeah.
Antti Sumela?
I think that's who it was. I'll have to take a look at that if I can find it real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, we
Nick's
traded.
gonna be.
Yeah, we traded a guy who I remember we traded somebody who did not play in the NHL anymore. And
Yeah.
he was kind of buried in the depth chart of Toronto, so it was good for him.
Yeah. Well, Toronto's probably just happy to free up their cap space, if anything else.
Yeah.
But in any case, I was a little bit surprised. But yeah, I think it makes total sense. And then you take a look at those three names, though. Okay, Hoffman, LeBanc, Barabanov. All three are forwards, and the guys that we've been talking about, the majority of them, the prospects, forwards. So I think this does open the door for a guy like Will Smith, if Mike Grier thinks he's ready for the NHL, to kind of have a real good chance to jump in and just start playing there. Who knows if that's where he'll stick, but certainly would be nice to have him have that open door, that spot available to him. There's nobody else to try to have to run over to be able to claim that spot. If you're good enough, it's yours, right? And then, of course, if you happen to win the draft lottery, to be certainly a spot for that young fellow as well. But I just thought it was interesting that the names that he had named, all three of them were forwards. And I think to your point, they're going to be surpassed on the depth chart. There's no spot for you here.
Yeah.
And who's going to surpass them but the prospects that we've got waiting in the wings?
Suomela was the correct answer.
Yes.
So that's not a
There we go. I got
not
it.
a terrible trade by then GM Doug Wilson. So I think Barabanov has been serviceable
Absolutely.
for the Sharks. I thought he has one of the better metrics of forwards carrying the puck in across the line.
I'm telling you, and it's funny that you said carrying the puck, because if you watch this guy skate and the amount of time he spends skating in the Mohawk position, 10 and 2, heel to heel, he is fantastic. I know it's Crosby's thing. Everybody, heel to heel is Crosby's thing. But if you watch Barabanov skate, I've seen him literally circle the entire offensive zone, just Mohawking. And it's fantastic to watch. And if you've ever, maybe it's not impressive to you guys, I don't know. But I try Mohawking, and it's difficult. My son can do it, no problem. He's one of those guys where you skate to the blue line, and then I want you to Mohawk the rest of the rink, and that's his favorite drill, because he just sits there like this, just Mohawking, and he just goes all the way down. He's killer at it. I am not. And so for me to see somebody at the NHL level carrying the puck, mind you, evading defenders, mind you, Mohawking all the way around the offensive zone, I mean, it's fantastic. So if you ever get a chance to watch maybe a highlight of Barabanov holding on to the puck, just watch him. It's fantastic watching him skate. So anyway, again, he's going to get passed up on the depth chart. He will not be with the Sharks next season. I wish him the best wherever he ends up.
I liked
going.
him.
So yeah,
nice guy,
good dude.
I liked the way he played too. I thought he was a good playmaker and slick with the puck. Man.
Yeah.
His skating was probably one of the best on the team.
And for as much as I talk about Matt Benning and how awesome he is for giving up the 2 sticks, I will say this: Barabanov. We ended up going to Pure Hockey, picking up this stuff called Celly Jelly. I think I talked about this one before.
Yeah.
We picked up Celly Jelly, which is hair gel, but of course it's hockey themed, so Celly Jelly.
Right.
We gave it to him because he has the best hair on the team at the time, right? Best flow. And so we gave it to him, and he was like, "Oh, what do I do with this?" I'm like, "It's for you." He goes, "Oh, for me? Hold on." And he goes away, and he comes back, gives him a brand new stick, and
Wow.
so just a good dude. Again, I hope that he goes to a really good team. I wish him all the best. I hope he gets his name stamped, preferably a little bit straighter, on the actual Stanley Cup, and good for him. So yeah, happy for the guy. Good dude, and amazing player, amazing skater. So yeah, I wish him all the best.
Nice. Fan of the show.
Now, as far as Kevin LeBanc goes, on the other hand, not as optimistic with his future. But what's that? The bell fell over. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just again, for me, it was time for him to go.
Change of scenery.
I'm happy that he's going to find a change of scenery. We're going to put it that way. We're going to word it that way. I'm happy
Sixth
that
round
he is
draft
finding
pick.
a change of scenery.
A 6th-round draft pick.
Yes.
Make it to the NHL. The only problem was his contract.
Love the
That's
story.
it.
It's a beautiful story.
The player itself is fine for what he is. His
Great.
contract was terrible. So
It's a beautiful story.
fresh start. He'll go somewhere else. It's good for him. It's good for the Sharks.
I wish you all the best, sir.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I hope he sticks in the NHL and plays at some point somewhere. That'd be great. Anyway,
Hoffman on Hoffman's the other one. Hoffman,
I don't know if Hoffman has another contract.
Yeah,
in him.
I don't
I
know.
just from what I saw, I mean, maybe on a good team they'll take a flyer on him for really
Yeah.
cheap. But I mean, that guy is now 34. He's not getting younger.
Yeah.
And did he just turn 34? Turns 34 in November, so he'll be turning 35 during next season, beginning of next season. And those are tough.
I mean, he's already over 30, so he's ancient.
Well, they're tougher contracts once he hit 35.
Yeah,
So he'll be
yeah.
able to sign it before he turns 35, assuming he signs with a team before the season starts.
Right.
But those ones, if you retire or whatever, you're stuck on the team's cap space.
So I want to get your take to this question then.
Sure.
Is this rock bottom?
Absolutely. For one, I don't think the Sharks were expecting to be this terrible, as Mike Greer just said.
Right.
I think the injuries now. Couture is still going to be the wild card. I think for me, missing Couture. I mean, there's a chance. The way he talked, he had just started skating in early April. That was only 3 weeks ago. He hadn't been training since he got hurt. Now his injury, he talked a lot about it. I didn't get a quote about his specific injury, but he said it's like a quality of life.
Yeah.
So it gets inflamed. It's kind of in his the groin, something. It's a joint, and you use it walking, like just walking and doing everyday life stuff.
Yeah.
You're using it, so you can never rest it. The only way to truly rest it is to stay in bed all day long and not move, which is not healthy. You can't do that for your body. Yeah. So his skating motion, he said, might be triggering it. He's talked to soccer players. It happens a lot to soccer players, hockey players, because the skating motion is not natural to your body. So over time, for some reason, to some people, it creates this issue. Apparently, there's a number of guys in the NHL that have it. There's just different degrees of severity, and he didn't want to call out anyone. He wasn't. Wasn't going to say anything, but so he didn't. He named one player who had come out publicly and talked about it. But different severities. His was one of the worst out of most of the people he talked to. So it's tough, man. He says he's going to take some time off. He's going back to Canada to visit family for like a couple months. He's going to be back here in August for training camp, and assuming he's going to be ready to go. But who knows? It's scary. Again, he's 34, 35. Yeah. So, he even said it. He goes, there's no team that's going to want a hurting 35-year-old with that kind of salary on their team.
Yeah.
So even if I wanted to move, I have nowhere to go, because they keep asking him and Vlasic and these. I guess it's just those two left if they want to get moved to a team because they're kind of on their way out of the NHL. And he's like nobody's gonna want me. Yeah. I can't get moved if I want to get moved. So hopefully for the best for Couture, he's gonna be back. I mean, I'd love to see him play again, but I completely understand if he doesn't.
Yeah.
It would suck for the Sharks, but who cares at that point? Like, I want him to be.
Yeah, it's more about the player than it is the organization, really. And maybe he comes back to the organization if he's anything like Joe Thornton. He just wants to be around the Sharks and around the rink and everything else, and he's got more to give. He just wasn't quite ready to leave the team. Maybe that's something that they can do with him. A development type of guy. Who knows? But it sucks because you know that he's a gamer. He's a competitive guy. He wants to compete. And to go out like this would be just shattering, I would hate to see him go out like this because whether or not you win a cup, okay, just the fact that he's able to go out there and work hard and compete and play the game that he loves, and then this injury kind of takes all of that away from him. It's not even like, oh, if I trained harder, I'd be able to contribute more. You can't train your way out of this. In fact, training seems to be what's causing it.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing he can do, and it sucks because the guy wants to be out there. He wants to be with the boys. He wants to be competing, and he just simply can't. So I wish him all the best. I hope he's ready for next season. I hope whatever it is, they can get cleared up. But if he has already gone through this, came back, played a handful of games, and then was out again because simply walking is going to cause it to get inflamed, then yeah, of course, I think we're kind of looking at what might be the end of Logan Couture's career right now, which is unfortunate. But I don't know. We'll have to see how next season starts off, who's at the training camp, because I would not be shocked if he wasn't there. And it would just be, again, just a sad day for me to see Logan Couture not even just not wearing a Sharks uniform, like wearing somebody else, just not being able to play the game, right? So anyway, I would be happy to Couture back. I think it means to have Couture back, but I would completely understand if you can't. It would definitely be heartbreaking if you can't play anymore. That's Brycar75 saying that. Thank you, Brycar, for your comment. Yeah.
I mean, it sucks to go out not on your own terms.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even like with Jumbo. Jumbo went out playing. He didn't go out because, his hip or something like that. It was something that prevented him from playing the game. He got to play the game still.
Yeah.
So for this to go out like this would be bad. Now maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. Maybe he's gonna get it cleared up and he'll be okay and he'll come back and he'll play. Whether or not he wins anything, who cares, right? Just for him to be able to come back and play the game.
Get
but I don't know.
Was it the Clancy Award for dedication to hockey? Right? If he comes back.
Perseverance or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
King Clancy. I don't know.
It would be great. It would be a great story, but I fear that this is kind of the last time we're going to see Logan playing the game. So
I'm still hopeful he's going to come back. I think.
I'm hopeful, but
he's been training the last couple weeks without any setbacks so far. Taking a break, right? But taking a long break and then coming back into training camp. We'll know by training camp. Yeah. If he's there for training camp and he's playing preseason games, then yeah, he'll be fine. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
The last quote from Greer is about the depth of the goaltending. He was asked this question about what he thought the depth of not just the starters in the NHL, but the whole depth of the entire organization. So here is Mike Greer's quote on goaltending.
Well, I think up here, I think we're in a pretty good spot with two NHL goaltenders. I think Blackie showed this year, and what he's shown in the past, he's a really good, solid NHL goalie. I think Vanacek he's been good throughout his NHL career. He's won a lot. He's had a lot of success. So to get those two guys healthy, I think we feel like we're in a good spot up here, as having two guys who can both go in and win games for us. Georgie and Krona are, two young guys who are finding their way. And with pro hockey, they had their ups and downs this year. I think both of them kind of had stretches where, where they were hot, and then they had stretches where, they were struggling a little bit. So I think it's been good for them. But so overall, I think we're in a decent spot. We could possibly look to add a number three type to kind of help push those guys and mentor them a little bit. I think that's a possibility. And, I think hopefully we'll see how the draft shakes out. But I think we also need to, bring in a younger goalie too, as kind of the development guy who's, a few years younger than, Krona and Georgie.
I think this might be the year they draft a goalie. Maybe not high end, high pick. 5th, 6th, 7th round. Put it on a goalie.
I thought it was interesting, though, that he said younger than Krona and Georgie.
Yeah.
How old are they?
They're not, I would say they're super young. Here, I'll pull it up real quick. Romanoff is 24. Krona's 23. But you get that you draft a guy at 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
That's the next batch, another 4 or 5 years away from where they are right now.
But he's talking about a third, right?
Well, before that, he was talking about a third.
So he wants a third guy other than Blackwood and Vanacek, but he's got Krona and Georgie.
I think
Romanov, whatever.
I think what he's saying is right now there's just for the AHL are those two guys, Krona and Georgia, Romanov.
Cooley?
He's done after this season, I think. I think his contract is up.
Okay.
So he's a free agent. He'll be gone. So then
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think he's
Okay.
going to sign him. So Blackwood, going into next season, it will be at the NHL level, Blackwood and Vanacek.
Yes.
And then down in the minors, you only have 2 at this point, Romanov and Krona.
Yeah.
So he wants a third goalie to push those 2 to be competitive and do what they did this year and bounce one to the ECHL. And then also Vanacek or Blackwood could get traded by the deadline. Then you need another goalie to fill in that space, so you kind of move them around like they did this year.
Yeah, and I'm on board with trading one of Blackwood or Vanacek, whichever one preferably is not doing as well, frankly, because I think, and again, I've said this before, I think it's 3 years, 2-3 years is what I was saying. I think the Sharks will start to look like a competitive team, ready to start inching their way towards being a bubble playoff team. So that's what I'm thinking. So if one of those guys pans out, give him a contract, right? And then you have your prospect, whoever it is, kind of pushing up from the AHL, maybe Georgie or Krona is kind of as the backup role in the NHL, right? So I could definitely see that. But I have to say, for a team that was having such a hard time with goaltending for a long time, I'm pretty excited. I'm a little bullish on these two guys, on Blackwood and Vanacek. I'm honestly I'm excited about these two. I think the weakest spot on the team right now is actually the blue line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think everything else is looking fantastic. I think our goaltending is almost, I don't know for sure because Vanacek's got to play a game for Teal still, right?
Right.
But I think our goaltending could be playoff ready. Maybe not contenders, but they could be playoff ready. Like, these are guys that you might have if you were going into the playoffs as your 1A, 1B. I think the forward group is looking very promising with all the prospects that are coming up. Again, we talked about them already. They are doing great in the leagues that they play in, but the blue line leaves a little bit to be desired.
There was, and I didn't put it in this quote here, I think it was right after you talked about this, there was some very high praise for Thomas Speer, who's the goaltending coach. From all the goaltenders have kind of seen major improvements since they brought him in. So I think Greer brought in Speer and the goalies really like him, like what he does, and helps their fundamentals kind of come back, especially with Blackwood and Kakinen this year. I think they had very good seasons on a very bad team. So very high praise, and he kind of laughed and said, "You need to stop talking so much about Speer because now I'm going to have to pay him more." That's what his joke was. So he agreed that Speer was a very good addition to the goaltending and helped solidify it. So there's some comments in here. I know Anthony's talking about how goaltending on this roster is just terrible and how the organization as a history has had bad goaltending.
Yes.
Which is true, but this is a whole new regime in the last 2 years. So I don't quite agree with that anymore. But anyway, anything else you want on the goaltending?
I'm just saying, man, I'm bullish. I'm bullish on these two. I'm telling you, even if one hits, if one of the two hits, and I think we've already seen Blackwood and gone, you know what, this guy's killer.
Yeah.
You know, and I think Vanacek can also be that guy. I think he could step up and be certainly a starter for this team, especially if Mr. Speer is crushing it with these guys and getting them.
I think the
revitalizing
tandem,
their games.
yeah, the tandem of Blackwood and Vanacek, that's
Yeah.
a very good 1A and 1B situation there. I think I agree. The goaltending is going to be, I think, pretty solid next year, assuming they're healthy. I think they're going to be solid.
A lot of people are saying the Sharks aren't going to be competitive for the next 5 years. I'm telling you.
5 years.
I'm telling you, we're talking like 2, maybe 3.
I mean, we just saw how badly I got the beginning of the show, how badly I got the predictions. But
2, maybe 3 years, and I'm telling you, we're going to be knocking on the door for that wild card. I'm telling you, it's going to happen.
I think it depends. A lot of it for me depends if they get Celebrini. That's obviously going to jumpstart things by a year. And then what they do in the offseason in terms of free agents and the roster starting next season, who's going to make the jump to the NHL, which prospect. I'm hoping Musty and Smith are both there. That dramatically improves this team.
I have to agree with you on that one. Okay, what are we doing next here? Because we can
Now-
talk about Couture a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
now we're going to move on to Couture's quote here. Now, Couture's the quote I picked from Couture is very different. It's interesting, and I kind of alluded to it earlier about the AHL considered. Is the NHL? The question kind of is the NHL development league, which is no, it is not.
Right.
And then the question was, what about the AHL? Is it a good league or not? I think a lot of people have that question. Is it good for a prospect to get sent back down to the AHL, or does it hurt them, kind of thing? You know what I mean? So here's Couture's answer on the AHL and the NHL not being a development league.
Difficult year. It's such a tough league for players to develop in. Joe Thornton, using one of his quotes, this isn't a development league. It's not. You don't develop in this league. The American League is, it's a great spot for players. But at some point, when you're too good for the American League, you come up and then you do need some developing. And, Eki, I think, and Zats showed that even with a losing team, you can still add layers to your game. Now, at the end of the day, you're going to have to learn how to win. It's a whole different ballgame. You're going to have to learn how to play playoff style games. And, we're a long ways from that. So, but there's a step that guys took this year, which I think is going to help them. And a lot of adversity. Guys definitely learned how to deal with some adversity. And yeah, but I think this organization obviously has a long way to go.
I mean, for the NHL to be even somebody say, oh yeah, it's a development league. The only thing you're developing there is your sense of how fast the game is at that level, and how little time and space you actually have when you're playing against people who are the absolute tip top of their game.
But also what it takes to be a professional and stay in the league.
Sure.
And I'm talking off-ice stuff, like how you take care of your body mentally and physically so that you can stay and play an 82 grind season, because they're playing in even the AHL is what,
68, I think.
Yeah, it's not nearly the grind that the NHL schedule is. So there's a lot to learn still in the NHL, but no, not a development league.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be able to take a raw product. Like Mook Madillon is a good example, right? That guy was seen as a very good defender with raw skills that needed to get refined, especially coming over from Russia and playing on bigger ice and getting to the smaller ice surface, especially the defenseman position. That he wouldn't be able to develop those skills at the NHL level. He needed to be in the AHL. So perfect example, and that's another guy that I think could make the jump next season, similar to how Thrun did this year. Maybe we'll see him bounce a little bit, but mainly play in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, especially talking about a guy like Thrun, like there's not much more. He can go down and get some confidence, right? But in terms of the game speed and everything else, he's there. It's not about development though. It's about adjusting to the physicality, adjusting to the speed, adjusting to the expectations of what a blue liner at that level needs to have, right? You're not gonna learn that stuff by playing in a league where they're slower, where the expectations maybe aren't as high. Right, where they're not as heavy, they don't hit as hard, right? All those things, you're not going to learn that stuff. You have to play in the NHL to be able to get that feel for it. But you should have developed to the point that you're good enough to play in that league before stepping in.
Yeah.
So is it a development league? No, obviously, absolutely not. Now is the AHL a good league? That's seriously what the question was? I mean, yeah, I think it's a great league.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically the overflow, right? It's NHL overflow. It's guys that can't quite hack it. They're right there, because we've talked about this before. The difference between a superstar and an everyday sort of NHL journeyman is the consistency. A lot of these guys in the AHL, it's not that they're not good enough. They have roughly the same skill level as an NHL player. They just don't do it consistently.
Yeah. And
they probably don't have the ability to have that 82 game grind, right? Maybe they can't even hack it for all 68. They got to take some games off. There's, just little things that keep them out of the show. But in terms of their overall skill level, it's not far off from an NHLer. It really isn't that far off. It's just those little inconsistencies, and that's really all the difference is.
So I like this question, or this comment here by Max Markov. So far, neither Musty nor Smith look like potential superstars. They are very good players, but it looks like Sharks still only will draft their new core. Now, I agree. I don't think they're going to be superstars. They're not NHL superstars. I think these guys are going to be all-stars. Think of like Tomas Hertl and Logan Couture, right? They might get an all-star game here and there during their career. Like have a year where they're going to be so good and the best player on the team, maybe, that they go to the all-star game. But they're not going to be Nathan McKinnon that's going to be going every single year. To me, that's a superstar, right?
Okay.
Cale Makar is another one. I mean, I'm picking the Avalanche players here, but Connor McDavid, like obviously that's a generational talent, but Draisaitl is another one that's maybe not quite generational, but that's still a superstar player.
Yeah.
These guys are not that, but they are going to be their kind of core guys, kind of like, would you consider Pavelski a superstar player, or would you consider him a all-star good player, not playing in every all-star game? Like to me, as superstar players, that is your all-star player every single season. There's no one that'll be better
To me,
than them.
Pavelski is Rudy. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
that guy that everybody counted out. We're going to draft him super deep.
Well, yeah.
No big deal. Right? And he just says, you know what? That's cool. I'm just going to do what I've been doing my entire career. I'm going to put these work boots on, and I'm going to be the first guy on the ice and the last guy off of it. I'm going to work on tipping everything. One of the most impressive things I've seen him do, by the way, had nothing to do with tipping. It was just him with a bunch of pucks, and he was back to the net. He'd just start going, grab a puck, spin towards the net, fire, and hit the brakes, turn, and he was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the guy just did this drill. It must have been like 15 times. And I can't imagine how exhausted he must have been, but that's the type of work that the guy decided he was putting it.
Work ethic.
Dude, it
Bar
was
none. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's the quote? Hard work and skill. Hard work
will
beats
beat
skill when skill doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
That's him, right? Like you can have all the skill in the world, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna outwork you, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that was what Pavelski was all about, and I'm not even sure why we're talking about Pavelski. You brought him up just now,
No,
but
just my point of Will Smith and Quentin Musty, those guys that I'm high on,
Yeah.
right? Imagine the difference between vintage Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau.
yeah,
Joe Thornton was on a different level than Patrick Marleau. Patrick Marleau was a great player in his prime, great player, not leading the league in anything. Joe Thornton led the league in assists. He led the league in a number of categories for a couple years. Like that is superstar status. Patrick Marleau, all-star status.
Yeah.
Your team all-star. Like he's great, but not superstar in that top 10 of the league, top 1% of the league. That's hopefully the kind of player that Celebrini will be.
Yeah.
That guy was that. Celebrini will be better than Will Smith or Quentin Musty, but Quentin Musty and Will Smith will be cornerstone pieces to that core.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they need to be. We don't need to be a team full of superstars. We just need to be a team full of guys that are going to, outwork the competition. If that means that Will Smith isn't a perennial all-star, then okay, right? It's more about team than it is individual, and I think that if these guys are contributing to the team in the way that we think that they will, this is going to be a very good team. Regardless of individual accolades, right? This is going to be a very good team. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I hope that we see that sooner than later, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But, time will tell, obviously. So, and, we're sitting here saying, oh, he's not going to be an all-star. He's not going to be, we don't know. Maybe he will.
we don't know.
Maybe he will. I mean, look at the guys that got picked super late. Datsuk, right? Pavelski, Kevin LeBanc, right? I mean, these guys, they made it there. Which is defying the odds.
Datsuk was a different time because I don't think there were many Russian scouts at the time, so they were able to.
Just don't.
And Pavelski, I think, because he was small,
It doesn't matter.
I think that hurt him. Same with Dan Boyle. Dan Boyle was picked late, or not even picked, because his size. And Dan Boyle even said as much when we saw him. And I talked to him. I said, "Did you something about it? Like you had a chip on your shoulder because you weren't drafted?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "But back then." Nobody my size got drafted. These days, you see it. Like he probably would have gone maybe in the top 2 rounds, if
I can see that. Yeah.
a damn boy. If he was exactly who he was playing right now, he would be in the top 2. But it was just a different league at the time. So, anyway, let's move on.
Sure.
One of our favorite players, who gives fantastic quotes, Nico Sturm.
Oh, I was gonna say Noah Gregor.
Oh no, Nico Sturm.
Nico Sturm, baby.
Nico Sturm tells you how it is.
Love this guy.
He kind of reminds you of Couture when Couture got interviews before he was captain, and he would just say some things so bluntly that you're just like, wow, that it's kind of refreshing in a way.
Nico Sturm is the captain of my heart. Just saying.
So here is Nico Sturm. The question was, how did the season go? Let's see what Nico Sturm had to say about how the season went.
It was bad. It was really bad, I think. And the first thing we have to do in order to get better is be honest with ourselves. I thought, last year we obviously had a bad season, but I thought for the most part, at least up until the trade deadline, we were competitive. And then after the season, my goal for this year was to stay, in the playoff hunt as long as possible. And I didn't expect us to make the playoffs, but I thought that, we're going to be more competitive than last year. And the reality is that we're worse than last year. And so you got to be honest about that. I think there were too many nights where we were not competitive. We got blown out. I think we lost double digits twice at home in a row. On the road, gave up 9 in Edmonton. So there was just way too many nights where we didn't look like we belonged on the ice with the other team, and that's the truth of it. And you have to address these things. You have to be honest with it. If you lie about it, if you think, it wasn't that bad, that's not how it works. We're never going to get better. So it wasn't nearly good enough, and that's the truth of it. Yeah.
Captaincy material.
I'm thinking more after hockey GM status. Like, to me, like, he's just maybe coach or GM, like, he's a very smart guy.
I love his quotes. I love how blunt, how honest he is about it. He's not trying to sugarcoat anything.
Yeah.
Right? Just tell it how it is. How was your season? It was really bad. Obviously we all already know that, but you hear so many answers that are just canned,
sugar-coated.
And you get the whole thing where it's
cliches.
like, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna coach you on how to talk and everything. He's just like, yeah, whatever. Look, we were really bad, okay. You can't go.
And also,
it's gonna be okay because you're kidding yourself, and that's not no way to get better. Absolutely, I love this guy. Absolutely love him. Now I know that you're saying he doesn't have a spot on this team. But I'm telling you, it would be a mistake not to bring this guy back in. If you like Luke Cunnin, you gotta love Nico Sturm.
Sturm has another year left. He's
extend
he's
him
here next season. I don't know if he wants to be extended. He might want to move on to another team.
He said something about future plans. I don't remember exactly the quote, what it was, but he said figures into the future plans.
I think he has a smart agent because I think in 2 seasons, the cap might be going up by a lot when his contract is up. So
you know what?
That's a whole different story.
I give him a lot. That's just me.
Yeah. Anyway, I just love that quote and wanted to put that in there because he's so blunt and so great and doesn't.
Nico Sturm 8x8 captaincy. Let's go.
Some comments here.
Yeah.
Nico wasn't shy about this. Is Anthony Sanchez. Nico wasn't shy about his words. Can only imagine what he said behind closed doors. Absolutely.
But I don't think he's a jerk.
No, he's honest. He's honest.
Yeah. I don't think he's in the locker room kicking trash cans and throwing chairs and you guys suck and I could have stayed with Colorado, whatever.
He's there to bring a winning culture and change it around. So that was another question that was asked here, and I think it was of Couture. I did not grab it, but kind of like, Couture, you were here when you were winning. Like, how different is it then? Obviously, minus the wins and losses, but how different is the culture and the feeling around the room versus from a winning team to the losing team? And he was like, you're right. It's really hard when you're constantly losing and you bring in these young guys. They need to be coming into an atmosphere that's used to winning and seeing what it takes to win the NHL level. Yeah. And it needs to kind of get reset. And going to the next season, they're hoping to do that and not be as bad as they were this year. This year was awful. Skipper Sturm. Captain Sturm has a good ring to it.
It's Sturm Caller, like Storm Caller.
Sturm Caller.
Sturmageddon. Sturmudgeon.
That's great.
Yeah, I like this. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad. So again, for me, it would be a travesty not to have this man back in your locker room. I extend him beyond this season. I do it for at least another year, because you want him there helping set the culture in case guys like Will Smith or Quentin Musty or any of those young guys we talked about, Halton and everybody else. Beasted. Yeah, Beasted. Any of those guys that are right on the cusp, but they can't quite make it this coming season, you're going to want Nico Sturm there for when they do make it. That's my take on him. Again, I can't say enough good things about him. He has become one of my favorite guys on the team, not just to watch, but to listen to and just to hear him talk. Some of the other guys, again, Eklund, we've talked about. Ferraro, obviously, hardworking, everything else. But Nico Sturm has certainly vaulted himself ahead of Ferraro, I would say. And in terms of the gameplay, I still marvel at the way the man works. Mm-hmm. He's one of the hardest workers on the team. I love watching him skate. I love watching him compete. Obviously, Eklund, a little bit flashier, right? And it's more exciting to watch. But there's something to be said about someone who's just willing to go out there and just give it his all, even if they're not scoring or even if that's not his role. So very happy with him. Hope to see him back. Don't know that we will. I mean, for next season we will. But I'm saying beyond that one season, I'd love to see him back. So that's my take on Nico Sturm.
Another player that will be coming back for one more season at least is Mikael Granlund.
Okay.
I got a quote here from Granlund, and this one is about him playing specifically with that line of Zetterlund and
the
Eklund.
Lundys.
The Lundys.
Yeah.
What it was like for him, and I don't know if I got this in the quote, but they called him Dad, and he was like, he's like, man, come on. So yeah, it was pretty funny. He was like, I look younger than Zetterlund or the Eklund, I don't know, whatever. But here's what Granlund had to say about playing with those two guys and being the older guy.
I loved it. I mean, those two guys, they're great people to be around with, first of all. But the way I love to see them come to the rink, they come to work. They want to do the right thing. You can see a player, like, they want to get better. As an older guy, you really want to help them. You want to, you can see, they're willing to take the help. They're willing to learn. That's something you got to have if you want to be a good player in this league. You need to be willing to learn. You need to be willing to work hard. So I give a ton of credit for those guys. And you can see them, how they looked in the beginning of the season compared to right now. They're like different players, That's the growth. That's the willingness to learn and work hard throughout the season. And I'm really proud of those guys.
You're very high on Granlund. You
I
really
am.
like Granlund this season.
I do. I mean, I liked him before he was on the Sharks. Back when he was on Nashville, I thought he was a very good player. I mean, I knew him. I knew a lot of these players from fantasy hockey and stuff, and seeing a lot of Sharks games when they played against them. But very good guy, a good mentor for these guys. He's one of those guys that he's great in the face-off circle and can give little tips. And even when he was hurt, he was at the rink helping these guys with just small things. And as he was saying, Zetterlund and Eklund are sponges. They were asking him a million questions and getting a bunch of stuff from him, and we saw what happened with that.
Yeah.
He elevated. Not to say that they're not good players, but I think he brought more out of them. And it's not necessarily all on the coaching staff to do this. It's other players and mentors. And again, the culture in San Jose of having Marleau and Thornton around, more guys to bounce stuff off of, I think only helps. And I think we're seeing the development side of the Sharks is kind of shining through. I think Greer's team that he put together, and he's been very big on focusing on player development, has been amazing. Bringing in Granlund, I mean, it was via a trade with Carlson that brought Granlund over from Pittsburgh, but I think he's been fantastic, and I would almost extend Granlund here going to next season. Once this next season starts is when he'd be eligible to sign one. Same with Sturm, but I would consider it maybe for a year or two, maybe not a long-term deal, but maybe another year or two, because once your team is getting good, that would be your third-line center, and that's a heck of a third-line center that can obviously jump in the top six if needed with an injury.
Yeah. No, I like that idea a lot. I don't mind him being on this team. Obviously, if he can do this well on a team that is this bad, certainly if we've got some of the younger guys that are coming up and making an impact, and he can be a part of that, I think he's only going to do better. So I'm happy for him that he's kind of revitalized his career a little bit there. I know it was kind of on the downswing, and we've taken some swings on guys like Oscar Lindblom, for instance, and that didn't pan out too well. However, this is one of those ones, along with guys like Philip Zadina or Zetterlund, for instance. I know he's younger; there's not really like a revitalization going on there, but having these guys that maybe were thought that they weren't quite as good as everybody thought they were, and all of a sudden, they get the opportunity to get some minutes, and they're showing up, and things are going well for them. So happy for Granlund. He had a great year. And again, one of those guys that you hear him talk, and it's kind of I like this guy. He's got some good things to say, and obviously, like you said, good for the line. Interesting fact there: of the Lundys, he's the only Finnish Lund.
Yeah.
Everybody else is a Swedish Lund.
Yes.
So we thought that there was maybe a connection there, but it turns out nope. They just have Lund as part of the last name.
I mean, they're right next to each other, but
yeah, but whatever. Anyway, okay, good. So I think that was the end of the Granlund. Unless there's anything else you want to say about Granlund.
No, I like him both as a player and a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any comments you want to pull out of here, by the way?
Man, what do you want to say here? Isaiah wins. Who do you guys want the Sharks to draft most other than Celebrini? I think I would like to see Greentree or Nygaard with their 14th pick. I don't know if it's Nygaard. But that's interesting because let's talk about that real quickly. The Sharks do have the Pittsburgh Penguins first round pick. The Penguins did not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think it was 14th overall is where they ended up. Now, they do have a chance. They do not have a chance because they ended up 14th that they can't bump up because you can only go 10 spots.
Right.
So
they could end up with the 4th overall, right? So 10 spots.
They can't because they can only go 10 spots, but they're only picking the lottery for 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that the lottery opportunity goes all the way down the line, and they can win, but go up only 10 spots.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the 4th overall is the best they could be.
Exactly. They could get to the 4th overall.
So if their ball gets picked in the very beginning for the first overall pick,
they can move up 10 spots.
Then what? They do another draft or another lottery for the
They do
first?
draft for first and second.
Right. So they I don't even know how this works. Do they pick the first overall pick, and if they pick one of those teams that can't get first overall pick, do they pick again for the first overall pick?
Not for the first. I think it would be for the second.
Then it would go to the
I
second.
think they move up 10 spots, and then they would roll for the second one.
Okay. Yeah. And then third. Or they don't even pick for third.
That's just first and second, and then everybody else falls in line. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Fun.
So that's what I believe happens, at least. However, yes, if they were to win that... now,
idiots.
I know you're talking about Nick, too. It's
I
gotta be Nick.
I said Nick. I remember.
So anyway, so again, they can get to the 4th. Now, if they do happen to win the lottery and they do get the 4th overall pick, they're not trading that to the Sharks, right?
Right. So the option is they have 72 hours after the lottery.
Which I hate.
If they want, I know it should be before. If they want to let the Sharks have it or give the Sharks an unprotected first round pick for next season, which I don't think would be the end of the world. Because that could also be a draft pick. Next season, I mean. And it's unprotected.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hate it.
I don't think you get the 4th overall pick in any draft and then just be like, no, we're just going to,
no, they give
pass.
It to
I don't think they do that. I think they would pick with the 4th.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're expecting to be better next season.
So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. If it's the 14th overall pick. Now, here's the thing. What did we just get done talking about, right? What do the Sharks need? The Sharks don't really need goaltending right now. They just solidified, I think, their net with Vanacek and Blackwood. And then, as time goes on for the next season, they could trade one of them, yes.
I think they just need somebody in the pipeline.
Sure.
A super young guy in the pipeline.
I don't think that's going to be a 14th overall.
No.
I don't think they're going to do that.
No.
Right? So, what else do you need? You need...
Defenseman.
Oh, hello. Whoa, Brykar. Okay, we're going to get back to this topic in a second. Brykar with I don't know if that's Canadian? $27.99. Thanks for all your hard work. I always have fun watching the show. Thank you so much, Brykar. Do appreciate you supporting the show. $27.99. My goodness, man. Thank you. It's a strange number, though. I have to ask why $27.99. But in any case, Aaron, you got something to say here?
No, thanks. You've been one of the staples all season, so appreciate you in the show. And I believe his wife jumps into here sometimes too. So thanks to both of you.
Okay. Yeah, again, man, thank you. We do appreciate the support. It goes a long way. Next time around, use that $27.99 Canadian, I think it is. Go to the store and get something for your hard-earned money there. you can rep this at Fin Factor with a nice hat or something like that. But again, thank you. Do appreciate it. Aaron, we were just talking about 14th overall.
14th overall.
What do the Sharks need? I think they need blue line.
At that point, I think best available. Whoever they have in their list,
Okay.
best available. I don't think they're not in the position to pick position-wise. If they have a defenseman that they're high on and he's there,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think defenseman, blue line for sure. But what if they don't get Celebrini and they get the second or third and they pick a high-end defenseman?
Right.
Then they're going to be picking maybe a forward.
Sure. I guess for me, if you're going to get Celebrini, I think you need to have a solid defenseman in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And I think, 14th, whatever it is, I think that's still going to be a pretty good, potentially NHL top 4, bottom. I think you've got a guy that can play that role somewhere in that top 14 because you're going to have a handful of forwards going. So there's really going to be 8 defensemen. So if you have the 8th best defenseman in your draft class, I think you're still pretty good defenseman.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they ought to go after with that pick if they end up having that pick. So that's what I would do. Now, which individual? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about all of the prospects and whatnot. And for that, we would probably get Graham on the show to really kind of break it down. And it'd be interesting to hear what Graham would say in terms of who he would pick. Now, the very interesting thing, oh my God, Bandit, the $2 super chat, #1 Sharks podcast, baby. Oh man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I know that you've got. I just got off a plane for Southwest, and they said, we know you have many other flights that you can go with, but thank you for choosing Southwest. So we know there are other Shark podcasts out there. Thank you for choosing the Fin Factor. How about that?
That's great.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I don't work on these, I promise you, and maybe you could tell that I don't because they're lame. But again, I appreciate you guys support the show on the last show of the season, of course. Oh, here we go. Brightcar says, I met my wife through Zach. Wow, I have a Fin Factor shirt, and I have no idea why, but YouTube comes up with funny numbers.
They do come up with
Oh, but that's not why you have 75 there.
20, was it 27?
Oh, $27.99?
$27.99, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just comes up with weird numbers.
What? You just let YouTube decide how much you're going to super
I
chat?
don't know.
Guys, everybody try it right now. See what I'm doing here? Why'd you have to laugh? They might have tried it. Anyway, again, guys, thank you so much for your support. It goes a long way in helping keep the LEDs on. So there you go. Without the super chats, we have to turn this TV off. So thank you very much. I don't even know what we were talking about anymore.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about, do you think Chicago's going to win the first overall pick? And do you think it's fixed?
Okay, so on the topic of fixing, no, I don't think that they fix it. There's so many things that are going on behind the scenes. They've got a top 4 accounting firm as part of that as well, interesting enough. So I don't think there's any sort of fixing going on. I know it looks like it could be the case, especially when it's Chicago. He's original 6 team, and they got Bedard, and if they win it again, it's going to look pretty bad. But I don't think that they are actually putting a fix in. It's great to joke about it, but I don't think that's the case. Oh my goodness, again, look at this. 3G, Greg Aronica saying, let's go with the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate you. I'm looking down over here because you're on the screen, but actually he's right back there. He's chilling in Super Producer Jason's office. We had Debbie on the show last week. Now we've got Greg here.
Yeah.
Is this like a regular thing?
It could be.
It could be.
I think Greg's got a microphone, right? Go for it, Greg.
Does he?
Yeah.
It's okay. Next time we'll have me on for an actual interview.
Yes. There's room. We have yet to utilize this middle space here for an interview.
True.
And I will not show off any Sharks knowledge because I have very little. I defer to your judgment.
I know you've been chatting a lot in here.
I was gonna say I see you in the chat and everything, and in terms of Sharks knowledge, we're here talking. So how? I mean, really,
it can't get any
what
worse.
credentials do you need? I mean, really, so.
Definitely can't get worse. It's off the rails already.
Anyway, yeah, Greg,
Thanks,
thank you so
buddy.
much,
Thank
man. I
you.
do appreciate you. That's awesome. Thanks so much. What were the what do you call it? Chicago. No, there's no fix.
No.
It would look really bad. Original 6 team. I don't like the fact that they won Bedard. I don't like that they're in the running for Celebrini. If you already have Bedard, you don't need a better player.
You know they're comparing Celebrini to Taves.
Yes.
He is very much Taves-like in terms of leadership quality.
yeah.
So this could be future captain of the San Jose Sharks, and probably soon too, as soon as Logan retires.
Yeah.
But more skill than Taves did, and Taves had a pretty good amount of
Oh,
skill.
yeah.
I mean, he wasn't Patrick Kane, but he was up there.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of player and hopeful that the Sharks get, and they win this first overall pick.
Nick, by the way, just chimed in. He says, "Bring me on the show." Nick, buddy, I love you, but I don't think we have enough space. Dude, you are a large human being.
Too tall.
Your head would be off the screen.
You're too tall. You know how you have to be so tall to ride the ride? You have to be so short to ride to be on the show.
Buddy, I'm 5'7", okay? Like, we can't have no 7'4" dude sitting over here. Come on. Are you 7'4"? I think he is.
He's not.
He's a big
7'4".
dude.
He's 6'4".
He's Nick the Giant.
Everyone looks like a giant next to you.
I do have to look up to everybody. Okay. I think, are we done? Is there anything else you want to talk about here?
No.
If
Anthony
we just keep
said,
him, just keep him here long enough, they might get some more super chat going on, right?
Worst case scenario is that the Sharks win third overall pick. That would be but a decimal point on the Sharks' 23-24 season. Did I read that right? Because I get cut off a little bit here.
I would not like for the Sharks to have the third overall. After the season we've had, I feel like it's not even like tanking. We just were that bad. We deserve the first overall pick.
6'6". Nick is 6'6".
Okay, I was a few inches off. Come on.
7'3".
7'2". Didn't say 3. It's 8 inches off.
With skates.
With skates. With skates, he's close. Inline with the wheels, he's really close. Telling
Does he
you.
play inline?
I don't know, actually. Nick, you play inline? I forget. I know you played ice. But anyway. Okay, is there anything else?
No. We're just
talking about inline hockey now.
Yeah, these lights
What is going
are
on?
getting to me.
Guys, it wouldn't be a Fin Factor show if we didn't go off the rail and just start talking about other random things, okay? But again,
you know what we will do is we'll do some giveaways.
we're not giving away the toaster, Aaron.
Why not?
Okay, fine. We're giving away the toaster, guys.
Somebody want a toaster? If you want a toaster, let us know in the comments.
This is what the show has come to. We're giving away toasters now.
We've got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
We've
so
got baubles,
actually-
we've got hats, we've got jerseys, we've got all kinds of stuff that you didn't even know we had because I didn't even know we had it.
It's like the void that we just pull things out of. It's
We're
like
gonna
the
take an
magician's
inventory
hat back here.
and I'm kind of going off the cuff here, and Super Producer Jason's looking at me like I'm crazy. But maybe we do a big sale in our inventory of stuff, and
Yeah.
we're gonna throw in something to go along with it. It'll be a surprise,
Like a toaster.
like a toaster. Yeah. If you
Buy a
enough
hat
shirts,
and it comes in a giant box. Beware.
Yes.
It's probably the toaster.
you will know. We'll slap
God.
a Fin Factor sticker on the box.
I'll
too.
even put bread in the toaster for you. It's just ready to go. Plug it in and
Gross.
push it
It'll
down.
be green by the time they get it.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Preservatives, bud.
I'll make
okay.
sure to clean it too. There's still some crumbs in here.
No, don't clean it.
Don't clean
It's
it.
They're paying for
authentic.
that.
It's
They're
authentic.
paying for that.
Once again, it wouldn't be a Fin Factor show if we didn't completely go off the rails and talk about stuff that means nothing. So again, a fitting way to end the regular season for the San Jose Sharks on this show, just going talking about whatever. So again, guys, I appreciate that you showed up every week.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys actually show up every single week. And so, again, I do appreciate you. Everybody that jumped in with the Super Chat, not even just tonight, but all throughout the season, supporting the show, buying the hats and the shirts. We ran out of fanny packs. Again, thank you guys so much for all of your support. You make this possible. You make it fun. And you make this possible, too, actually. So, again, I can't say enough. Thank you. What a horrible season. but honestly, made better by the fine folks behind the screen over here. So.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us for another year with us on the Fin Factor. Again, the set is awesome. I'm glad to be back on the set. It was weird to go back to the first episode of this season and go, oh my gosh, we were still in the void.
Yeah.
That was really weird, and I completely forgot about it at that point. I thought we were here the whole time. So shout out to T.O. to the Double D for putting together this beautiful set. It's me and Jason's dad, Todd Scholl. And,
Thanks for saying the name in case they couldn't spell.
You're welcome. Thanks for Devereaux for stepping in twice,
Yes.
I think, this season. I think a lot of you guys that are in the chat that are here regulars have been here more than Paul has this season, so thank you.
Oh, wow.
And, appreciate you all. But,
Thanks to Debbie for bringing all the
the
treats
cookies
and all that
and,
stuff.
yeah, Greg joining us today. I think it's a lot of fun having
Yeah.
a kind of semi-live show with a live audience in a way.
It's good practice.
I think I'm going to look into, and I'm really going to do this, looking into for the draft day, or not draft day, the lottery, doing something, a live show. If we could do live, maybe, I don't want it to do recorded. I think live would be best with an audience somewhere. We can't do it here on the set. There's literally no space. There's space for a chair, and that's debatable, right, Greg? Like, it is very tight back there. But we'll get. I think doing it in front of a lot of people, I think could be fun for a lot of fans, and something different as well than just talking heads behind a desk.
I'm for it.
Excellent.
Guys, again, thank you so much for your support all season long. We know it's been hard, but hopefully this has provided a little bit of Sharks therapy for you all. Certainly it's helped us kind of get our thoughts out there. And again, this show wouldn't be what it is, at least not the live shows, without you guys in the chat there. We appreciate when you guys have gone out and shared to everybody else, getting those other Sharks friends and family in here, making it a lot more fun. So again, thank you for really helping support the show that way, as well as what Super Producer Jason's putting on the screen right now with Super Chat, with Venmo at the Fin Factor, supporting us that way, as well as through the website with all the merchandise that we have there. Again, I'm really looking forward to those custom tire valve covers. Those are going to be awesome. Can't wait. I've got more in the bag, dude. Trust me. Next season I got a whole lot.
Caps.
Shower caps? That's a good one too. Okay. You know what? The last thing we're gonna do before we go out is I'm gonna read some of these comments here because some of these folks just saying thank you and everything. Thanks for the season. You guys, can you read some of these off because I can't see. It's too small for me.
Well, thanks for the Bandit for another $5 saying, can we get Aaron cream pied one last time for old time's sake?
Well, I can do a virtual. I think that's not the way we would word it normally,
no,
but
I was
virtually
just reading it.
There
Pie
you go.
in the face. We did not bring the whipped cream this time.
No,
so
I did
it's
not.
okay.
Yeah, it has to stay refrigerated.
You get the
so.
bill for that.
There you go.
Half a bill.
But Bandit, thank you so much for supporting the show again. Yes, that was a lot of fun doing the pie to the face thing.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have more opportunities to do some fun stuff like that, some bets.
Budo Dojo, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Greg, thanks for the fun show. Thanks, Greg.
I'm the beat plug. Yes, you did miss the show, but don't worry. There's 2 hours worth that you can rewind on. So.
There's a lot to take in.
God, man. One more pie, says Nick. Okay. Guys, again, last time, thank you so much for an awesome season. Not so much on the ice, but off of it. So there you go. And yes, Brightcar, thank you for the great season.
Looking forward to next year when they will have more than 68 points.
I don't know about that, man. I don't know. We'll see. But to find out, maybe subscribe and come and talk with us about it for next season. And on that note, for Super Producer Jason, I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And back there we got 3G. He's going to say goodbye real quick. Yell it.
Bye.
There you go. We will see you guys.
At the draft lottery.
Draft lottery. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, check out our other content, especially interviews. You can interact with us directly through social media at The Fin Factor and on Instagram at Fin Factor. And don't forget to join our live streams on YouTube.
Visit our website at thefinfactor.com, where you'll find all of our episodes as videos or podcasts. You'll also find our exclusive merchandise to help support our show.